Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and otherwise. I'm Laura Haven. Welcome back to Remember 11. When last we left our heroes, we were excuse me. I was pressing a button and you were supposed to respond to that. Anyway, when last we left our heroes, we managed to actually start puzzling out exactly what was going on. At least now we know that we're swapping bodies and not suffering from DID. But at some point, Uni decided to take us downstairs and had something important to tell us. So why don't we find out exactly what that is? What is it, Uni? When we reached the underground storeroom, Uni glanced around to confirm that no one else was there. And then, with a smile that looked like he'd come up with a good prank, put his hand in his pocket. I'll give these to you. Candy! In the palm of his hand were 2 candies. They were in my pocket, but they aren't enough for anybody, so secretly eat them ourselves. But eating them in secret? Kokoron, you didn't get to eat lunch, right? That's why, okay? And besides, these are mine. Let's eat them before Tombi finds out we have them. Tombi probably refers to Mayazumi. I thought it'd be unfair to the other 2 upstairs, but yeah. Fuyukawa Kokoro's body was hungry. It's not like we can break up hard candy and divide it between us. That's true, it's not really fair, but I guess I'll have one. That's how it should be. Which one do you want, Kokoron? There's melon flavor and pineapple flavored ones. Let's see. I prefer melon flavored. I guess I'll have the melon flavored one. Ooh, how high class. I don't know if that's high class, that's just the flavor I'd prefer between the 2. You placed the hard candy firmly in my hand. Somehow it felt as if we were in a candy store. Thanks! I unwrapped the candy and tossed it in my mouth. It may have been melon taste artificially produced using sweeteners, but it was very delicious. Huh? Now you think about it, are you alright with melon flavored stuff, Kokoron? Uni's smile was while popping the pineapple candy into his mouth. What do you mean? I thought you might hate it. Why? Well, Kokoron hates cucumbers, right? They say melon flavors derived from cucumber honey, didn't they? I was wondering whether someone like Kokoron, who had a certified pedigree of cucumber haters, would be fine with melon flavor. I know nothing about where he's going with this. Cucumbers and melons are totally different. If you ask how different they are, it's like the difference between something that's edible and something that's not. Did you get picked on by cucumber in your previous life, Kokoron? That might be. We both rolled the candy around our mouths and smiled. Hey, Kokoron. Want to get married? Huh? Pardon me, what did you just say right now? Do it. I said, let's get married. How did we get on this topic? What's this kid saying all of a sudden? My face turned red as I replied. Yeah, Kokoro hates cucumbers, but I forget the other dude hates something. I can't remember his name because Yukido. Yeah, Yukido hates something. I don't remember what it is. Uni's sudden request panicked me and I was suddenly angry. Something like that can only be asked when 2 people mutually agree on it together. Do you hate me, Kokoron? Of course I don't. Then that means you like me, right? I like Kokoron too. Okay, now it's official. That's wrong! Jeez, I was just kidding. You don't have to get so angry. Jokes have their limits too. I guess. But if you and I get married, I'd be Kusada Kokoro, wouldn't it? Wouldn't I? That's not set in stone, right? Don't you know the dual surname bill was passed in 2008? Oh god, why are they making us look this up? Dual surnames. With the approval of the bill in 2008, married couples decide to use either partner's surname or retain separate family names. That's something that's always been a thing in the US as far as I know. Unless there had to be a law that passed to allow that a long time ago and I just didn't know of it. Sarah hates melon? Oh, uh-oh. Maybe I should have picked pineapple. Now that you mentioned it, that's right. But when I get married, I want to change my name to be the same as my spouse's. It's a dream of mine. After a moment of friendly chatter, I gathered my resolve and decided to ask him. Is Uni a twin, or is Uni a clone? Let's go with twin. Because go with clone, with the fact that apparently they exist and are prejudiced against, I don't want to put him in a position where he feels like he's scared to reveal something. Uni, you're not a twin or anything, right? Uni exists as two people. The simplest solution would be if you were a twin. Who are a twin, that would take care of the contradiction of witnessing both at Sphia and here. No, it wouldn't, because they have experienced the same things, and I don't believe in the whole twins experiencing the whole things phenomenon, so you're still off. He's a twone. Remember, Tidapro, clones exist in this world, apparently. They're totally a thing. However, I'm not a twin. I see. It seems things don't always work out so easily in this world. Uni placed his hand on the ladder, grinning like a Cheshire cat. Well, I'm going back up. If two of us are alone for too long, they might get suspicious. They might think we're doing something dirty. You're like 11. Children shouldn't say things like that. After I said that, Uni looked up at me with a glance that gave me chills. Want to test whether I'm a child or not? What? No! Bad! Go to your room! What? My heart started beating harder at a strangely seductive way of speaking. My cheeks reddened ever so slightly. Jeez, Kokoro, too? Are you really 20? Aren't you really a child? Hey! It was only a joke. Don't get angry, Kokoro. Uni apologized and teasingly stuck out his tongue. And keeping one hand on the ladder, he pushed his hair back with the other. He did as if he were some female judo athlete. It's not as if I'm setting my hair to put a sign here. Sign there? What? Pointing at the clothing to his chest. It's not like I had my initials embroidered and my shirt's colors don't have really special characteristics. Huh? What are you trying to say? I'm confused too. I don't think I have anything that would hint towards me having a twin. Oh. Damn, this kid is spot on clever. It's a bit too forward and underage, Jeebus. Yeah. Why were you curious about something like that? You're strange, Kokoro. An oddly precocious smile, Precocious? Yeah, precocious smile on his face. Uni said those last few words and climbed up the ladder. There was a single reason I thought he had a twin, because I had witnessed two Unis. If he doesn't have a twin, how is it possible to encounter the same person in two places, both this shelter cabin and Sphia? I had unconsciously crunched the candy into tiny pieces while pondering, even though I wanted to take my time eating it. I rolled the candy that had become so small as a grain on top of my tongue and enjoyed the fruit flavor. And then I realized, how does that boy know what my tastes are? Wait, that is a good point! Did we only mention the tastes at Sphia? I didn't make that connection. No, wait. He should have found it strange we liked the melon. Because I think I remember them mentioning, Yukido mentioned not liking melon here. I think. Darn, it's been too long in between playthroughs that I'm not entirely sure. I talked about them when we were eating breakfast at Sphia. Other than that time, I've talked about which foods I hate. Other than that time, I've talked about which foods I hate. In other words, does that mean the Uni that had at breakfast with Sphia and the Uni just gave me candy held the same memories? Wait, what? They hold the same memories? Just a moment ago, I was thinking something similar. About the relationship between memory and the brain. How the personality jumping to somewhere else in the world. It can't be. My heart jumped when I realized one possibility. I was wondering if you pick up the taste thing before the game did. It's been a while, so I don't remember all the details, and that was one that slipped my mind. If I was playing this game all in like one go, I probably would have caught that. Was Uni experiencing a personality exchange just like us? Whenever Satoru and I underwent a personality change, perhaps Uni's personality was undergoing an exchange as well. No, I can't say whether it's the same time or not. However, it was at least certain that Uni had been transferring between the shelter cabin and Sphia like we were. Uni that heard me speak at Sphia had jumped over here. How can Uni be both here and at Sphia? So maybe there is a clone. But they're switching personalities, but not enough for anybody to notice? That implies a few things. Either it could mean that they have a lot of practice doing this, and they're able to, and the two Uni personalities are capable of imitating one another close enough that people don't notice enough of a difference to become suspicious. Which isn't as hard as it sounds, because the concept of swapping personalities entirely is pretty foreign and not something one's mind would jump to. Or we're making the wrong assumptions, and my original assumption of there being two different time frames We're not just jumping between bodies, we're jumping between times, which I think is more likely because they know about the crash and the deaths at Sphia. And we just found the newspaper article here, which is set in the future. I don't ignore you, Tidapro. We just have no evidence that the Illuminati exist in this world. Sir Matt is your fave. I'm just in theory making mode. Alright. Anyway, I think my original theory that we're just jumping between two different time frames is probably the most accurate right now still. But this does worry me. The fact that Uni caught on to us not liking cucumbers, that is a concern, and that is a hole in my theory, but not a very big one. In Sotaro, in my case, we exchange bodies. Perhaps in Uni's case, it occasionally gets the same body? Or occasionally the same body. I was amazed at the silliness of my own idea. I love your theory making mode. Hopefully that's what people come here for. As Uni's memory remains continuous between the shelter cabin and Sphia, maybe his personality was jumping like ours were, or so I deduced. However, the deduction doesn't provide any answers about the mysterious phenomenon of seeing Uni in both places. Uni said he wasn't a twin. If that's the case, then having an identical body over the other side is impossible, isn't it? No, it could be a clone. That is a possibility. I just didn't want to ask it because I thought it would be insensitive. Wait. Who said that Uni even had two bodies at the same time? It might be I'm simply misunderstanding things. When I'm at Sphia, I have no idea what the situation is in the shelter cabin. When in the shelter cabin, I have no idea what the situation is at Sphia. Okay, but his body simply disappearing in one place would be weird. The cabin's pretty intimate. So unless he knew he needed to swap places and went downstairs and just kind of disappeared and hoped no one looked for him, that doesn't seem likely. Which means, and this is a very most a hypothesis, what Uni's experiencing, to borrow a word from science fiction, is teleportation, is it not? Okay, even the simple stuff we're checking, like what their definition is, because like with the clone thing, obviously there's more to it than, there might be more to it than we thought. The act of which an object or person, by use of powers such as ESP or extrasensory perception, moves instantaneously to another place, also referred to as instantaneous movement. Moreover, can it be considered that at the same time my personality transfers, both Uni's personality and body transfer as well? In other words, Sotaro doesn't meet with Uni. Uni is constantly by my side. That's something we can confirm though. We can ask Sotaro if he's met Uni. Which he should. He has. We already know that. That's right. Sotaro told Uni Sotaro's name originally. When we first met Uni at Sphia, he immediately was like, oh, hey, Sotaro. Or Yukido, or whatever he said. So he knows Sotaro's name. So it's highly likely that they've met. Not 100%, but highly likely. Okay, so this theory, I think, is getting too many holes. I don't think this theory works. On top of that unexplainable phenomenon, the pile on even more mysterious logic, a cruelly distorted thought came to me. Right now, I can think of only one possible explanation for the events happening around me. There's a way to verify it. It would be best just to ask Uni. See, the thing is, we've been keeping Uni in the dark more so than anyone else. Not entirely sure if that's the best idea, and that's causing too many theories and not enough things to confirm. But at the same time, I also kind of have some trepidation about telling Uni everything, because I am suspicious of the kid. But I wonder, Uni hasn't shown any signs of being confused. You usually want to consult with others if you fall into a situation where you've been teleporting between places. So if this theory is true, which I'm highly doubtful it is, he would have to be intimately familiar with it and have a lot of practice with it. Until I get my hands on some solid proof, I hold off on asking Uni. Those were my thoughts. I won't confuse him unnecessarily, because we're on the brink of an extreme situation here, which could be called a disaster. I nodded to myself once and put my hand on a ladder to climb up. When I go up, I see Yomogi sitting in a chair doing knife maintenance. Knife maintenance. As the knife you use, it will gradually go dull over time. To maintain optimum level of sharpness, daily care is essential. Most basic form of daily maintenance is to polish the blade after every use. Water is very bad for knives. Most modern knives are made of stainless steel, which is resistant to rust. However, that doesn't mean they are rust-proof. Therefore, they should be dried off quickly after coming in contact with water. To return a dull knife to a sharpened state, different methods of honing and touch-up exist. Honing knives refers to sharpening a knife. Touch-up a knife means to improve its ability to cut. When a knife becomes dull, it's best to think about seeing to it right away. We've got knife sharpening kits and stuff here at my house that we use occasionally on kitchen knives. He's wiping the blade of the knife with a cloth. Wonder what he's doing. I went to Yomogi's side. Maintenance? Yes. I tried to use it to disassemble the radio earlier, right? I might have gotten some oil on it then. Wiping off the impurities when you're finished using it is common sense when using a knife. Yomogi continued to carefully wipe the blade as he said that. A knife is a delicate thing. If you don't take care of it on a regular basis, it might not be of any use when you need it the most. After he finished wiping, Yomogi started to carefully check the knife. Yep. It seems it was perfect, he nodded in satisfaction. Then, sheathing the knife, he placed it on the surface of the table. Well then, I guess I'll check on the fire in the stove. Leaving the knife where it was, Yomogi walked over to the stove. I picked up the knife out of curiosity. It was considerably heavy. Its weight was much greater than I imagined from its appearance. Ooh. That's like a straight-up Bowie knife, ain't it? Survival knife is what's written on there, if you can't read it on your screen. Though, you probably see it bigger than I do, so you might have an easier time reading it than I do. Pull it out from the sheath. The overall length is about 34.5 centimeters. How do you get just... That's a little precise! The blade itself is about 20 centimeters in length. The blade was thick, about 5 millimeters on the blunt end. Wow, it looks really sharp. Rather, it really hurt if someone was cut with this. It was a combat knife used by French mercenary troops. French Mercenary Legion, aka French Foreign Legion, a unit of the French army, created in 1831 by Louis Philippe and the then King of the French. The purpose of the creation was to reduce wartime casualties among native French soldiers by using mercenaries from other countries and foreign nationals instead. The Mercenary Legion troops were know not of the word surrender, nor they taught how to act when captured. They are trained to fight to the death. The Mercenary Legion was fought in many conflicts in the French conquest of Algeria, the Indochina War, and the Algerian Civil War. Many foreign soldiers lost their lives in these conflicts. Even now, any French troop dispatched overseas are almost always from the Mercenary Legion. They are also recently deployed in areas such as Afghanistan and Kosovo. That ain't a knife. This is a knife. Hey, that's dangerous, so be careful. Yomogi noticed I'd taken the knife out without permission and told me to take care. You'll cut yourself. Don't worry so much, I say baselessly. I softly touched the blade of the knife. The chilly coolness transferred my fingers. But wow, this is a good knife, isn't it? Whoa, don't be touching the blade. I just finished wiping it down. Oil from your fingers will rub off on it. I tried to apologize, and at that instant... Oh hell. Oh hell, Satoru's gonna be holding the knife. Who knows what might happen. I really hope he doesn't cut off his freaking thumb. Ah! Alarm. When I came to, Utsumi was standing in front of me. I jumped again? Flustered, I looked at the alarm clock above the bed. It was 6:03. As I turned to look, Utsumi had suddenly grasped my arm. Her face had a ghastly expression, and more of one of anxiety. Is something wrong? Something... I feel uneasy. Uneasy? I forgot to do Satoru's voice. Utsumi nodded slightly. I have a very bad feeling. For example, yes, like an earthquake is about to happen. An earthquake? Yes, it'd be nice if it were just my imagination. This is Hokkaido, isn't it? That's right, an island off the coast of Wakkanai. Does Hokkaido get a lot of earthquakes? An image of earthquake equals the Tokai region, around the Eastern Sea. Earthquakes happen all over Japan. Even in Hokkaido there are instances where earthquakes cause a lot of damage, like the case of the Okushiri Island earthquake, right? Okushiri Island, an island in the southwest of Hokkaido off the western edge of the Yoshimi Peninsula. It was severely damaged in the southwestern Hokkaido earthquake struck in July of 1993. I remember hearing about that earthquake. With a kind smile, Utsumi said, Sorry. That's fine if it's just my imagination. I apologize if I made you feel anxious. Not at all. You've become Fuyukawa-san again, haven't you? Wow. She's fast. This time I answered with a yes. I felt as if the floor had disappeared. My body floated as if it were falling. No, a big tremor. It's an earthquake. As I thought. I caught the staggering Utsumi in my arms. Huddling together, the two of us crouched to protect ourselves from falling objects. The crashing sound came from things falling in the kitchen. Okay, I'm a Californian. I know what to do here. Each of you, take a doorway. You stand within a doorway that's the safest and most structurally sound place in an earthquake and the least likely to have something fall on your head and kill you. You have two doorways right next to you. The bathroom and the door entering. You both take one, hold yourself in it, and you'll be fine. This has been Earthquake Safety from a native Californian. Actually, not native Californian, now that I think about it. I was born in Alaska. Which, incidentally, has less earthquakes, but still more than normal. What's a twist? This was probably a pretty severe one. It's going to be a lot of trouble to clean up. The moment I had that thought, along with the ear-splitting sounds, all the light disappeared. That's why the first thing you do is get in a doorway, because once it goes dark, you're going to have trouble. The earthquake caused a blackout? I heard her scream from a distance. It was Yuni's voice. Hattori was probably screaming voicelessly as well. I have to go to them. With the violent shaking, Utsumi tried to stand. Okay, I know visual novels, and we're pausing, obviously, so this probably isn't lasting as long as we're making it seem, but earthquakes normally last only a few seconds. This is taking a while. I grabbed her onto her arm. No, walking around now could be dangerous. But the children, let's go when the shaking settles. The intense tremor settled down after about 30 seconds. That's still a long earthquake. That is still a pretty long earthquake. 30 seconds. Utsumi stands up to snap at to her feet and flies out of the room. I followed after her. We know Yuni screamed, but I am still worried about Hattori. So... But we know Yuni was in trouble. I'm gonna go check on Yuni. Utsumi nodded without turning and ran towards Hattori room. Good, she checked the other one. I'm happy with that. Yuni, are you okay? I came flying into Yuni's room. He was crouching in the corner of the room with a blanket pulled over his head. It was like when we first met him in this room, face distorted in terror, large teardrops flowing from his eyes. I'm scared! I'm scared! Kokoron! You're safe now. He may be remembering the plane crash, and the sensation of falling with a sudden jerk was similar to gravity loss of the airplane. Kokoron, don't leave me! It's alright, I'm here. Hold your hand, okay? You haven't told him you're Kokoron yet! I gripped on Yuni's palm firmly with my hand, just like at the time in the crash. You aren't Kokoron. Crying, Yuni clung to me. I was so scared. Don't cry. Don't cry, it's okay now. Still crying, Yuni hugged me tight. I rubbed his small back again and again. Is Yuni-kun safe? Oh, is Yuni-kun safe? Utsumi had entered the room. She was gently holding Hattori's shoulder. Hattori's face was blue, but it didn't seem as if she was injured. Good, they're both okay. Somehow he's alright. A somewhat relieved look had appeared on Utsumi's face, but her expression was still stiff. Thank goodness. We can't relax yet. Why? Because it's not certain there won't be a tsunami. Tsunami? Oh, that's true. They're on an island. Fuck. Image of a tsunami in the sea during winter didn't connect immediately. Yes. In the Okushiri earthquake, a lot of damage was caused by a tsunami. Iosagi Island is in a similar geographic position. We can't let our guard down yet. Hattori grabbed onto Utsumi's arm with anxiety on her face, while gently stroking her head. It's gonna be fine. I'll protect you. Properly, until the end. Are we going to die? There's no way that'll happen, right? We'll definitely be fine. Feeling Yuni's hand shaking, I clasped it tightly once more. Isn't there any way to protect ourselves from a tsunami, like climbing up to higher ground? How about the clock tower, if we're there? Utsumi shook her head from side to side. I don't know how to get up to the clock tower. What? You don't know? Yes, Yukido-kun might know, but... However, Satoru's personality isn't here right now. Then we can only pray there won't be a tsunami? It seems so. Sphia Uni needs so many hugs. Yeah, I know, right? In slower cases, it can take a tsunami over 10 minutes to come. In the darkness, we made our way to the living area, mostly by touch. Because the living area had a large window, it was slightly brighter there. Tableware had scattered on the floor of the kitchen, and the living area was in the shock of the earthquake. There were also broken objects there. Things like kitchen knives had fallen too, so it was dangerous. Looking at it made me once again realize that a huge earthquake had occurred. Television was still plugged in power supply, but the blackout made the screen go dark. We were unable to contain any information. With me holding on to Uni's trembling shoulder, we gathered ourselves together and held our breath. Thinking we might be able to hear the sound of the tsunami approaching, we strained our ears. But aren't you in a snowy area? And doesn't necessarily mean they're on a mountain. Japan, it does stretch pretty high up. And they were going north, so they're at the northern tip. Hopefully they're fairly far inland. The 10 or so minutes past felt like an eternity. What we heard was only the roaring of the raging snowstorm. The ominous sound of the approaching wave never arrived. I wonder if we're safe now. Kokoron. He called me Kokoron. He'd only ever called me that when he was scared, but it made me really happy whenever he called me Kokoron. Grasping his hand, I opened my mouth. There's a problem here. There was only once that we referred to ourselves as Kokoron here in Sphia. As Kokoro. I keep saying Kokoron, his little nickname for but he's a sharp kid. Still worried. We couldn't stay together until the end of the time of the crash, but we're together now, right? That's what I intended to say. However, my consciousness was cut off there. Ah, hell! I tasted the primordial sea. Okay, sometimes the switch is almost instantaneous, going through the same scene. Sometimes it brings us to this screen where we temporarily lose all sense of self. Which is weird, because nothing triggered that this time necessarily. Maybe the need to communicate something to Uni and we didn't feel like we could because we were the wrong identity. It's always about identity. Again, this sensation. The sensation, the boundary line between my body being lost and everything melting away. A floating feeling where you don't even know whether you're facing up or down. That and there is no unease. An absolute feeling of relief rules over me. For all eternity. Only I can remain in this for all eternity. Discord of group consciousness. When I came to, I was inside the shelter cabin. Wrapped in a blanket, I was watching the fire in the stove. I should have been shivering in fear of earthquakes and tsunamis just a few seconds ago, but the current me was shivering from the cold instead. In many ways, I had no time to relax. If things continue this way, sooner or later, I'll likely just collapse, both mentally and emotionally. Okay, what we need to do here is to immediately ask everybody in the cabin, hey, did you feel an earthquake? Because even if they're pretty far away, which they shouldn't be, they should be less than an hour, probably, from the Sphia facility, they would still feel some of the earthquake. Also, whatever happened with the aftershock? We never had an aftershock. Was that an earthquake? That's strange. If things continue this way, sooner or later I'm likely just to collapse, both mentally and emotionally. Right, I needed to check the time. Looked down and watched my wrist. Oh, it was gone again. Jeez, just what is going on? Getting irritated, I looked around and saw it lying on the table. I looked at the face of the watch. Wait a second. Every single time, we're trying to keep track of the time between the two places. Every single time we come back to our body with the express purpose of checking the time, it's been off our wrist. Someone is actively removing that watch and doing something with it. This is twice now. I was already suspicious about it the first time. Someone's changing the time, and I think it's Satoru. Which means he might have some inkling of when the switch is going to happen. I don't like it. I don't like it. Hands were pointing to 6:36. 6:36, huh? What's wrong? You're muttering to yourself. Muggy peeked at my face, his expression worried. It's nothing at all. I was just thinking about something. Okay, so this time the switch only happened for 30 minutes. Interesting. That tone. Fuyakawa-san? Yes. Looking as if he wanted to say, oh brother, but Yomogi scratched his head, and his bearded face distorted into a forced smile. That's... right, I shaved this morning, and I have more beard than he does. Let's not say bearded face, okay? Because that's inaccurate. Dinner is hardtack biscuits. They don't taste like anything, but it's better to eat them. You went without breakfast after all. I had only a single lick of hard candy, so my stomach was painfully empty. Thanks for the meal! Yomogi handed me a can of biscuits and a cup of chamomile tea. I tossed the biscuits into my mouth. Indeed, they had no taste at all. I had a bite of one yesterday, too, and I still definitely couldn't call them delicious. I guess expecting the emergency rations to be delicious is too much to ask for, though. But even then, I had to eat. If I didn't eat, I wouldn't live. Washed down the biscuits with chamomile tea. Do you know one of the people who set up this cabinet and chamomile tea put in there? You've said it was a calming effect, but is there some other specific reason? It's not much of a reason, but chamomile tea also helps with insomnia. In extreme situations like this, your nerves get excited and it becomes harder to sleep, right? It was in consideration of that, so we could relax even a little and get some quiet sleep. Would it be dangerous to fall asleep in a snowy mountain? In stories like this, people are always saying things like, you'll die if you sleep, and slapping each other awake and stuff, right? It's true that when hypothermia sets in, you feel a sudden drowsiness, but as long as it isn't that, it's best to sleep when you can. Just in display case, that's how well it preserves. Yeah, hardtack, I mean, that's the point of it. It is really, really easy to preserve, and it gets the job done. That's about it. If you don't sleep, you'd use a considerable amount of physical strength. The reason they had chamomile tea was out of consideration for that. Saying this, Yomogi stuck a finger deep in the can of biscuits, picked out a piece of rock sugar and placed it in his cup. Then he smiled at me as if to say I should try doing the same. Just as he had, I tried putting a lump of rock sugar in my cup of chamomile tea. It was a little hot, but I stirred it with my finger. The sweetness added to chamomile tea felt as if it were penetrating every corner of my tired body. You know a lot, Yomogi-san. I don't know a lot at all. I only know a lot about mountains. No, even saying that I know a lot about mountains is a little misleading. I don't know anything about besides the mountains. The world, fashion trends, politics, the economy. Don't know about anything outside the mountains. Especially... The voice rang out in the corner of the room and interrupted his speech. If you know so much about mountains, then do something about this situation! This is your home ground, isn't it, Mr. Mountain Man? Yomogi shrugged his shoulders. Especially the beings known as women. I know less about them than anything. Mayazumi, who until now had been lying around wrapped in her blanket, and raised herself up. Raising one eyebrow, she stared at Yomogi. Just which era are you from? Meiji, Taisho, or just maybe Jurassic? I was born in the Cretaceous period. A trilobite, eh? Trilobite, or there are a couple of actually ways to pronounce that, in my understanding. Anthropods that lived in the Cambrian period. Most had a body length of about 2 to 4 centimeters. I'll refrain from making a comeback to that for this time being, but trilobites aren't from the Cretaceous period. You know, saying things like I know less about women than anything isn't fashionable anymore. That's why I said I don't know anything about changes in fashion, right? Just be quiet and go to sleep, Mayuzumi. Don't order me around. You know, I'm not trying to threaten you. Without exaggerating, the Snowy Mountain is truly a grim reaper. Starting with the weakest person and working up, it snatches away each life without fail. It won't show you an ounce of sympathy or mercy. Mayuzumi faltered at his grave tone, retreated to her usual sitting position. Understand? Stop wasting your energy. Preserve your strength as much as you can before the fire goes out. Wait a second, what do you mean before the fire goes out? Don't just let it go out? The number of matches we have is limited. Because you are always saying it's cold, we use them without even trying to ration. With only this amount left, either tomorrow or the day after, we'll... Enough joking around! Do something before that happens. Something, you say? What do you want me to do? Wearing her blanket like a mantle, Mayuzumi pointed at the door of the cabin. Go and call for help! This instant! Yeah, understood, Your Majesty. Yomogi went down to the storeroom with his bag in hand. Without hesitating, gathered all the mountain climbing equipment and returned. Well then, I'm going. Surprised Yomogi's words, I don't think you should go out there. It's like evening. That's gonna make it worse. What does it mean by warn Mayuzumi? Like, don't do stuff like this or I'll punch you in the face? Because that seems like something I would say. Mayuzumi-san? Jeez, what are you yelling about all of a sudden? Mayuzumi opened her eyes wide as if surprised. There's no way you can just go out and call for help that easily. In a snowstorm like this, even Yomogi-san would die. You don't even get it, do you? What's with this attitude? The guy himself said he'd go, so what's the problem? Yeah, it's just as Mayuzumi said. Yeah, it's just as Mayuzumi said. I'm finally in the mood to go, so don't try and stop me, Fuyakawa-san. Saying that, Yomogi raised a finger in front of Mayuzumi's face. 1 week to get down the mountain. With a quick movement, he raised another finger. And 1 week to call the rescue team and then return here. What? Ignoring the surprise of Mayuzumi's voice, Yomogi put his hands together. Sorry, Mayuzumi. So that means I'll be out for 2 weeks. If someone comes, let them know that. Right in front of me, as I stood there dumbfounded, Yomogi's hand reached for the door. Oh, he's bluffing. I like it. It's like negative everything degrees. Exactly. By then... Wait right there! Flustered, Mayuzumi closed the door. She grabbed Yomogi's arm and yelled, Are you going to leave us here to die? You're the one who told me to go for help. I didn't think it would take so long. Yomogi threw his bag on the floor and glared at Mayuzumi. When you're trapped on a mountain, the selfishness of a single person can lead to the death of the entire team. It's not just your behavior. If there's a single person who goes idiotically like you, it will form cracks in the unity of the team. You don't have to get so worked up. Mayuzumi looked down and wrapped herself in a blanket as if sulking. Going back to her territory, she sat down and hugged her knees. As if to calm himself down, Yomogi took a deep breath and sat next to Mayuzumi. And shifting his tone from violent to gentle, he continued. Okay? I'm begging you, Mayuzumi. Listen to me if you want to survive. I can tell somewhat that you're the kind woman who hates doing what men tell you to do. But to survive on a snowy mountain, we need a united will. After a disturbance in harmony like this, death starts to creep nearer. That's what a snowy mountain is like. I'll listen to as many of your gripes and complaints as you want once we're saved, okay? Mayuzumi had buried her face in her knees and now cast a silent glance at Yomogi. Perhaps Yomogi's words had moved her heart. That's what I thought, but... I'm tired all of a sudden. Hey, I want to wash my face, so could you draw a bath? You! Yomogi clenched his fist and made a face as if saying if you weren't a woman, I'd really let you have it. Trembling and quivering. Now, calm down, Yomogi-san. What an idiot, taking it so seriously. I was just kidding. Mayuzumi put the rock sugar from her biscuits into her mouth and chewed on it as she jumped into the top bunk. Must have been vexing for her to have been defeated by Yomogi's sound arguments. Eyes fixed on the wall, Mayuzumi wasn't looking this way. Yomogi released his clenched fist and took a deep breath. Hey, Fuyakawa-san. Why'd I ever save a woman like that? Have you fooled around too much in your past life? It would have been like you not to save her. It would have been like you not to save her, Yomogi-san. When I told him my true feelings, Yomogi's shoulders drooped. Stop that. If you say something like that, I won't be able to abandon you if the situation calls for it. You were planning on abandoning me? If I thought we'd lost all hope of being saved. In other words, as long as there's a chance that we're saved, you'll come and save... Oh, sorry. In other words, as long as there's a chance that we'll be saved, you'll come and save me, right? You could say that, but the way you put it is a little embarrassing. Yomogi scratched the tip of his nose and sat down in front of the stove. He was still wearing all the equipment he had prepared to go for help. How about we put away your things? It's not like you're going to call for help anymore, I said, growing anxious. I didn't think he was going to leave us, but the fact that he remained ready to go at any time scared me. If he disappeared, I didn't think we'd make it by ourselves. No, I was planning on going out anyway. Where? Don't get upset, Fuyakawa-san. But I'm going to the crash site. There must be a wireless device somewhere within the wreckage. A flight recorder or something else with a source of electricity, right? Maybe the power source that works for wireless devices too. Okie dokie. Flight recorder. aka the black box, an aviation device that automatically records speed, altitude, and other information about the flight in real time. Housed in a very sturdy casing, which makes it highly resistant to damage by fire or force trauma. Okay, so the joke that everybody makes when they hear about this indestructible black box is, why don't they make the whole plane out of it? Because it's heavy as fuck. And if you made the whole plane out of it, it wouldn't fly. I don't know why that's a thing that so many people ask all the time. If you can make something indestructible, that's nearly indestructible, why don't you make the whole thing out of it so it never destroys the plane? Because obviously aerodynamics are a thing. It seems like the most obvious thing to me, but I hear that question so often. And I'm like, why are you an idiot? Why? So dumb. Box is also small and solid. Yeah, it's really dense material. So it's just like, it's just a lump of electronics that calculates all this data, and then boom, heavy box. Just make the plane out of diamonds. That too. Cost is a thing. In fact, a lot of times when people make fun of video games or stories and they're like, why is the prototype better than everything else? Because a trope common in video games especially is like a prototype of whatever you're dealing with is all way stronger than like the normal units that it was the prototype to. The reason is because there's so many reasons for a prototype not being used, and one of the biggest is almost always cost of production. If you're looking to mass produce or produce a certain number of whatever you're working on, like let's just randomly say robots at this point, the prototype is probably going to be way more expensive than the basic units that you want to use, the basic robots you want to use in this example. Because the prototype is not efficient, but it has all the features tested and everything that they want to have. The finished product almost always has stuff cut out or corners cut to maintain the cost. So that's why the prototype being better than everything else is a trope that actually makes sense to me. And this reminded me of that. And it's just one of the rants I wanted to have. However, the chances of finding one in perfect condition are close to zero. Well, it's worth a shot, don't you think? There might be food or other useful things might turn up too. But have you gotten a blizzard like this? I'm going when the blizzard settles down a bit. If I went out now, even I would die. As I ran my hand down his chest, I looked up at him. Please be careful, okay? You're the only one we can rely on here. Yomogi scratched his nose in embarrassment and nodded while looking away. It's about when you go search the wreckage. Mm-hmm. Of course I want to help out as much as I can. Oh, you don't have to worry about that. No, that's not it. That's not what I meant. How do I say this? It might be when the time comes I won't be myself anymore. You mean Yukido-kun, right? Right. In that case, if I happen to be Satoru at the time, can you tell him this? Help Yomogi-san out as much as you can. I said it seriously, but Yomogi raised his voice in laughter. There's no way I could say something like that myself. That's true. Yomogi slapped his knee. I just remembered. I forgot to tell you something important. Something important? While searching his pocket, Yomogi-san said, well, I don't know what it's like for you guys, but for me, you two are one and the same. Even if your personality changes, it's difficult to recognize you as a different person. Your face and appearance are the same after all. What are you trying to say? Yomogi, who was fumbling in his pocket, took out a thin piece of paper. This is it. He handed it over to me. It was a thin paper you peel off the surface of cardboard boxes. Several characters had been written on it. Yukido-kun told me to give it to you. There's a note? Sir had left me a note here as well. Told me to give that to Fuyukawa-san if she returned. It's not like Fuyukawa-san opens the door and says, I'm back, or anything like that. That's why I completely forgot. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes, somewhat. Yomogi seemed to want to make an excuse for why he had forgotten to pass me the note, but that didn't matter at all. Emergency situation like this, asking for perfection is unfair. I didn't have any intention of blaming him. Instead, I was unbearably anxious about Satoru's note. I want to read the note. Yeah. Alright, what's the note say? Separating myself from Yomogi, I sat down on the bed. I look at the scrap of paper. There's only a single line. Please listen to the voice recorder. Ah, perfect! We had a voice recorder on our person. I looked in my pocket. Took out the palm-sized voice recorder and pressed the switch. I tried playing it back, so I heard the voice coming from the small speaker in the recorder. Kokoro, this is a continuation of my message from before. It's my voice! My voice, which I don't remember recording. There's proof of that during the time in which I had no memory of being in the shelter cabin. Kokoro Fuyukawa's body was being operated by Satoru. I continued listening, growing excited. Since I don't know when we'll transfer again, I'll just get down to business. Calm down and listen, okay? Actually, it seems that my body... That's right, the note ended there. What was up with Satoru's body, I wonder? Stop wondering and just keep listening! It seems someone is after my life. After your life? What do you mean? Voice message continued. I continued listening anxiously. Remember, in one of the opening scenes of the prologue, he was pushed off of the clock tower. And he was definitely seriously injured by the time we started switching bodies. And he's on pain meds. But... Oh, come on! We get like one word closer every single time, and then body swap. Scars taste like paranoia. Yeah, that's fitting. All of a sudden, my field of vision turned pitch black. I felt a sharp pain running down my left arm as if it was burning. Huh? Or more like, huh? I screamed, not knowing what was going on. What? What was happening? My heart was beating quickly. Because of the pain in my left arm, I wasn't able to think. What was happening? It hurts. What does this mean? Why is it so dark? Where's the electricity? It hurts. Somebody. Inside of my head was falling in a panic. I finally noticed that my posture was weird. I'd been standing on until just a moment ago, and I was crawling on the floor as though groveling. Had I fallen over? Moreover, the pain was no laughing matter. Was it on the same level of the pain you feel just from bumping into someone? My eyes caught something in the darkness. Was someone there? I couldn't tell. I couldn't decide whether there was anyone there or not because my eyes weren't adapted to darkness. It looked like somebody was there. It felt like no one was there. I was so agitated I couldn't even tell. I had to run. I instinctively thought that. I didn't know what it was, but right now I felt like my life was at risk. I endured the pain, and crawling away on all fours, I made my escape. I reached a large window and faced the terrace. There I finally noticed I was now inside Sphia. I transferred again. A faint light showed from outside. Beyond the window was only gray. The snow continued to blow. I deliriously beat on the window. I have to run. If I don't get outside... But I didn't know how to open the window. I timidly turned my head and looked behind me. Engulfed in gray, the lamplight didn't even reach the inner part of the living room area. None of the places I glanced at had any sign of people in them, but they might have just been hiding. What should I do? It's dangerous to just stand there. Gotta run! But where to? Where's the safest? Run to a private room! I'll take refuge in someone's room. If I lock myself in and bar the door, I should be able to escape my pursuer. But whose room? Satoru's room. I hadn't stopped to consider anywhere else. In this situation, I couldn't trust anyone. Keeping a sharp lookout, I made for Satoru's room. VA for this part is great. Kokoro's VA doing a deeper Satoru voice. It's so neat. That sounds really cool, but of course, obviously, I've turned off the voices so I can do them. But I might do a playthrough on my own after I'm done to, like, maybe see if I can solve some mysteries on my own, and I'll let the VA actually run. Closing the door, I lock it behind me. I should be safe now. Unless they hid in here first, but I mean, this is the most likely safe place. Just as relief had set in, my fear from before began to return bit by bit, and I crumbled to the ground, my strength drained. I couldn't put any power in my torso. My body quivered. With the spell of tension broken, the pain in my left arm began to sharpen. Softly touching it, I felt something slippery. It was blood. Yukito-kun? I jumped. Someone was in the room. Who? It's me. That voice. Utsumi-san? Yes, that's right. Is something wrong? It's just terrible. Just now. I stopped my mid-sentence and hurriedly snapped my mouth shut. Why was Utsumi in Satoru's room? Yukito-kun, what happened just now? What's wrong? The presence of the one I recognized as Utsumi moved. She was walking towards me. What do I do? Should I run? Can I trust Utsumi? What if Utsumi was the one chasing me? There would have been plenty of time to sneak in while I was running towards this room. I don't like it. I don't like it. She would have had plenty of time to sneak in while I was running towards this room. I couldn't deny the possibility that she's the pursuer, waiting to ambush me. But if the reverse is true, and Utsumi wasn't the culprit, if she left the room, she would be stepping directly in the path of certain danger. Yukito-kun, are you alright? Utsumi's presence pressed in further, now almost right in front of me. What do I do? What should I believe? I don't know. I shut my eyes tight. Oh! Seems the power has been restored. What? I slowly opened my eyes. Just as Utsumi said, the electricity was back. To my eyes, which had become accustomed to the dark, it was blinding, so I shielded my eyes with my hand. The clock on the table entered my field of vision. 7:43. Because Satoru said, please check the time, I had unconsciously become sensitive to the presence of clocks. It had been about 10 minutes since the transfer? If that's the case, the last transfer happened at 7:33. Yukino-kun, what's wrong? Huh? Tsumi's face went pale and she rushed over to me. I inadvertently tensed. You're bleeding! I looked at my left arm as well. I was profoundly shocked. My, or more accurately, Satoru's left arm was dyed deep red. Not only that, there were drops forming on my fingers that dripped to the floor. Many bloodstains were already formed there. Oh! I grew dizzy. I felt like I was going to go anemic. My left arm already felt like it was burning. Pain reverberated through my whole body. We have to treat it right away! Wait here, I'll go and get the first aid kit right away! Separating from me, Utsumi quickly made to leave the room. I panicked and grabbed Utsumi's arm, pulling her back. Wait! If you go outside now, you'll be in danger! Utsumi turned back toward me in suspicion. That is... Silence enveloped the room. Is that you, Fuyukawa-san? Huh? Yes, it is. I had to say it. Right before I came in here. Just before the personality exchange happened is what I mean. Yes. Someone was chasing me. I was with my hand. Someone, you say? I don't know who. I didn't see their face. Utsumi stayed silent. She was probably contemplating who the criminal was. Other than myself and Utsumi, only Uni and Inubushi Hattori was currently in Sphia. Seeing as I was attacked, I'm obviously exempt, meaning it was the one who was remaining of the three. Not necessarily. Satoru could have done something to himself. He's not above suspicion in this whole mess. Even if it's true that Uni's only a child and he's a really good kid, there's no way he'd attack me. Of course, they're going to immediately assume it was Hattori. As for Inubushi and Utsumi, I can't rule either of them out as a possible suspect. If Inubushi Keiko wakes up, then that would mean the awakening of the murderous monster. Okay, you're assuming Utsumi isn't doing it, probably for the same reasons you're assuming Uni isn't, though. Oh, they're a good person. I mean, what I mean is, you're not assuming Utsumi didn't do it, but you should be if you're using the same logic as you applied to Uni. That's what I meant to say. On the other hand, it seems really strange for Utsumi to have been in Satoru's room. Took a good look at Utsumi. I almost let out a scream. Utsumi's palms. Her palms are... covered in blood. As I thought, was she the one who... Took a quick inventory of the room. I didn't see anything especially out of place. There weren't any knives wet with blood or anything lying around, but... I don't know. Could this kind-looking woman really have done it? Something so terrible? I can't even picture Utsumi brandishing a knife. Okay. I'm jumping ahead of myself. The real explanation for this situation is probably a humongous misunderstanding. I don't know how he got stabbed, but something happened to Satoru that is probably not nearly as bad as straight up someone attempting to murder him. Utsumi seemed to notice that her hand was covered in blood as well. Taken aback, she looked at her hands. No, this isn't... This was when I pulled you. I touched your arm, so... I haven't said anything yet. Utsumi's face grew resentful. I can tell what you're thinking if you don't say it out loud. Look in your eyes. To be fair, she's right. You're not known for your poker face, Kokoro. The atmosphere in the room instantly soured. Utsumi and I stared reflexively at each other, both of us standing stock still. Hey. Sarah was opening a can of misunderstanding, and then, as if she was trying to say something very difficult, Utsumi's timid voice cut in. Your memory of being chased, how clear is it? What? No, I was caught up in the moment, so I can't say it was clear. What are you trying to say? I wonder if you really were being chased. I was bewildered. I wonder what she was talking about. Don't get angry, just listen, okay? I wonder if it's possible you were thinking you were being attacked and it was just a hallucination. I got angry. There's no way it was a hallucination. It's a fact that my left arm is wounded. Then who is it that injured me? You. What? It was you, wasn't it? There's no way. If it wasn't you who caused the injury, it must have been Yukino-kun. In other words, it appears that Utsumi's trying to say that Satoru had cut himself. Like I said, that's a possibility. I'm not sure if it's the most likely one, but it's a possibility. Basically what I'm trying to say is nobody's above suspicion. Boy, this feels really familiar to 999. Give me a minute. Is my mic a little louder than normal? Because it feels like it is definitely coming a little louder. So I'm going to lower it a tiny bit. There. Does that help? Because when I get to the high points of what I'm saying, like if my voice gets to like that, when I say that, it's kind of louder than normal. I'm trying to, because my mic settings have been changed by the computer, so I'm trying to fix them. Anyway, in other words, it appears that Utsumi's trying to say Satoru cut himself. That can't be, I'm sure I was. Certainly I didn't see anyone. There isn't any proof. But I don't think Satoru would cut himself. Besides, he told me. It seems someone is after me. Alright, well, excuse me. I'm going to have the mic set a little lower because it's really hard for me to get a feel for what you guys are hearing, and I don't want to spike too loud. Also, Satoru's saying someone's after me, like, even though we saw in the prologue that he probably got pushed off that clock tower by someone, we can't say for certain that of what happened. So he could be trying to deceive us, and nobody's after him. Unless he's also suffering from DID and his other personalities trying to kill him. Which would add a layer of complexity that is completely unnecessary, but possible. Are there any signs that indicate Satoru was cutting himself? Also, was it a stab or a cut? Also, where's the cut happened? We haven't gotten any information on that. Utsumi shook her head as if troubled. No, I don't really know. Which means it could very well have been Inabu. Utsumi shut her mouth mid-sentence. I'm sorry. Were you about to say Inabushi? Don't you mean Hattori? Uh-oh. Inabushi Keiko. In other words, Utsumi wanted to say it was Inabushi Keiko. Yes, Inabushi was a rare example of a natural killer, a murderous monster. If I'm trying to find out who attacked me, it's true she'd be the most likely suspect. If she awoke, it wouldn't be weird for this Fia to be turned into a stage of an unprecedented tragedy. I probably had a really serious look on my face. Utsumi gave a kind smile as if to help me relax. We really don't know anything yet, so it isn't good to go recklessly suspecting anyone. I don't think anybody but Kokoro knows her as Inabushi Keiko, though. I'm pretty sure everyone else knows her as Hattori. Moreover, we have to hurry up and treat you. Utsumi unlocked the door and opened it just enough to peer outside to see what was happening. Is anyone especially suspicious looking out there? Come on now. The figures of Uni and Hattori were in the kitchen. Our tenseness caused both Utsumi and I to give a start when we saw them. Either of them may be the one who attacked me. Even if I tried to act calm, I couldn't help but be aware of them. However, I didn't see anything especially suspicious. Of course, they weren't holding knives or anything, and there wasn't any trace of splattered blood on them. Satoru, what's wrong? Uni said in exaggerated astonishment. It's only natural, I guess. In order to show my composure, I smiled. I couldn't smile. Intense pain ran through me. It seemed like blood was stopping, and drops of it fell here and there as I walked, adding new bloodstains to the floor. Hey, you're bleeding a lot. Are you okay? Uni honestly seemed uneasy, and Utsumi patted Uni's head gently while smiling. You see, Fuyukawa-san's hand slipped, and this cut happened accidentally. Is that true? Or rather, are you Kokoro now? Yes. Yes. Though Utsumi's words made me feel gloomy, I forced a smile on my face. Broke out in a cold sweat from the pain. How careless of you! Uni seemed to have accepted what Utsumi was saying. I myself can't accept it at all. Possibility there's another culprit is too high. But I felt it wouldn't be good if I were to say it out loud. I don't want to provoke the real culprit. I don't want to suspect an innocent person. Just like Utsumi said, it isn't good to doubt people when you don't know anything yet. Right now it's best to just observe the situation. Hey, can you go get the first aid kit? Utsumi dispensed instructions to Uni and Hattori and then sat me down. Hattori came pattering up to me with the first aid kit. Judging from her panicked appearance, she was probably worried about me as well. Uni was watching at a distance. Perhaps he wasn't good with blood. Wait just a moment, I'm going to wash my hands. She probably can't do anything to treat me with her bloody like that. Utsumi tried over to sink. Then, as if saying I'll do it myself, Hattori pointed at the tip of her own nose. Standing in front of me, she opened the first aid kit. Okay, so it was on his hand. Interesting. Hattori's hands were clumsy. She was struggling to wrap the bandages. It got twisted halfway, and a puzzled expression like a question mark rose on her face. But still, it was clear that she was trying her best. Hey, are you alright, Satoru? I mean, Kokoro? Are you really okay? Without looking directly at the wound, Uni hurried over to me. Do your best, Hattori-chan. On the other hand, Utsumi was behind Hattori, cheering her on. I suddenly remembered that out-of-place feeling. Utsumi called Hattori Hattori-chan very naturally, even though her real name was Inabushi Keiko. Are Hattori and Inabushi Keiko enough different apart to tell them apart from a single glance? Two personalities in one space. Or is that the only Hattori personality has surfaced recently? Thinking along those lines, an unpleasant thought came to mind. What if the girl before my eyes treating me right now wasn't Hattori, but Inabushi Keiko? Or maybe Inabushi Keiko never had DID in the first place. She was only pretending she had DID from the beginning. The possibility of her being the one who attacked me grew remarkably higher. Not noticing my feelings of unrest, Hattori let out a deep breath. The treatment was over before I knew it. My left arm was stiff from the bandage. It was really uneven. That's incredible. You're not very good at this, huh? Hattori hung her head in embarrassment. Thank you, Hattori-chan. Hattori smiled slightly at the words. Afterward, Utsumi wrapped the bandage again correctly and administered a painkiller. Thanks to that, the pain went down. Okay, Satoru must have so many painkillers in his body he could take down an elephant by bleeding on it. Seriously, you might want to dial back on those. Except my head had become a little foggy. Side effect of the painkiller, most likely. Again, we get back to the chemical effects of the body still affecting the other personality, the foreign personality in the body. I sat across the sofa and took a deep breath. Utsumi brought me a blanket. Try to get some rest. Yes. Utsumi also sat down on the sofa. Uni and Hattori sat down as well, relief on their faces. I was the one who fixed the power. Aren't I amazing? How bright of you, Uni-kun. Wasn't that big a deal. Praise me more. During the conversation, Hattori watched us smiling. He probably just flipped some breakers. Enough blood to take down an elephant. Exactly. Among these three people is the one who attacked me. Seems unimaginable while looking at the calm scene like this, but it's certain the culprit is among them. Who was it who attacked me? Why? To what end? During the treatment, they all seemed extremely kind. Everyone worked as hard as they could to treat me, to treat Satoru with tender care. Underneath the mask of kindness, there was someone whose true nature is that of a killer. Who should I believe in? I can't trust anyone. I want to trust them, but I can't. There's no certainty. I can't be convinced. I feel like grabbing my head and screaming. Throb. My arm hurt. Even with throb, my arm hurt. I thought she was like going to say something, throbbing pain in my blah blah blah, and then got cut off. Never mind. Even with the painkiller, it pulsed with pain whenever I moved. What would happen to him? What would happen to him if I was killed in this body? What would become of my existence? What would become of his existence? Anxiety remains inside my head. This world and that world. The newspaper, Uni, and Ibushi, the personality transfer. And now, there's attempted murder on top of that. They use the same Photoshop filter I use on certain thumbnails. There are so many things I don't know. Hey, Kokoro. Seemed Uni still wasn't used to me being Fuyukawa Kokoro inside Satoru's body. He frowned for a moment from his mistake. What's wrong, Kokoro? Once again, he stared in my face. Hey, you praised me too, Kokoro. I was one who fixed the power, you know. Isn't that amazing? Seeing Uni's pure and guiltless smile, I hung my head and smiled too. I didn't believe this smiling child was a killer. I don't want to believe it. Swallowing the uneasiness in my mind, I tried to act as normal as possible. That is amazing. Right? How did you fix it? Do you have some knowledge in electricity? That's I went there and did that, and it was fixed. So then, how did you fix it? Well, why do you want to know? Well, why won't you tell me? Because I don't want to say. Uni. Because... Hey, Uni-kun, if there's ever another power energy and if we know how Uni-kun fixed it, we would be able to deal with it ourselves, right? Please tell us. I'll give you hard candy later. Although I didn't have one on me. I won't be baited by food. And Utsumi clasped her hands. In that case, I'll make you a cake later. For real? Cake? What happened to not being baited by food? I smiled bitterly, but still I was genuinely enjoying the silly conversation. A gentle warmth spread through my distrustful heart. Even though it's trivial everyday life, it was only natural until now. Ever since the plane crash, everyone's gone mad. Everything's gone mad. I want to go back. Even a moment sooner, those days spent laughing innocently. Which, speaking of laughing innocently and ignoring things, I may have forgotten that it was time for our first break of the day. So, let's go ahead and take that break. So get up, stretch, whatever you need to do, be able to keep watching comfortably. And I will be right back.